What do strong men have in common? Not loud voices, not perfect bodies, not the need to be seen or praised. Truly strong men, the kind that don't break under pressure, share something else. A habit, but not one that gets headlines, not one that trends. It's quiet, invisible to most, but foundational. They pause before reacting. They don't chase control, they practice it. They don't need to dominate, they master themselves. This strength doesn't begin in the gym. It begins in the soul. And it's not new. For over 2,000 years, Stoic philosophers spoke of 4 virtues, 4 cornerstones of character, that shaped men who stood firm through chaos, war, loss, and temptation. Wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Not traits you're born with, but the principles you choose daily. These virtues didn't just build warriors or emperors. They built fathers, leaders, craftsmen, men who could bend but not break. And in a world obsessed with image, speed, and noise, these virtues still work. They don't make you invincible. They make you unshakable. So if you've been wondering what it really means to be strong, stay with me. Let's return to what has never failed. The 4 Stoic virtues weren't invented in a classroom. They weren't dreamed up by armchair philosophers. They came from life, from observing what helped people survive hardship and still remain honorable. Long before Stoicism had a name, Greek thinkers spoke of something deeper than pleasure or success. They searched for arete, excellence of soul, not talent, not luck, but virtue lived in action. The Stoics refined that search. They believed a good life isn't built by accident. It's built by character. And character, they said, stands on 4 legs. Wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. These aren't lofty ideals. They are tools, practical, daily, and uncomfortable. Tools that turn chaos into clarity, fear into forward motion, reaction into response. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote about them not to impress others, but to remind himself how to live each day. Seneca, a wealthy statesman, warned that without virtue, success is empty. He taught that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, because we lack discipline. And Epictetus, born a slave, had no power over others, so he trained the only thing he could, his own judgment. These men lived in different worlds. One ruled, one advised, one obeyed. But all 3 stood on the same foundation. Virtue, not as a costume to wear, but as a compass to follow, especially when no one is watching. And that's where their strength came from. Not from status or wealth or reputation, but from who they chose to be. When life gave them no guarantees, they don't shout, they don't sparkle, but they build men who don't break. One by one, these 4 become your spine. Wisdom is not knowledge. It's not intellect. It's not how much you've read or how fast you think. Wisdom is clarity, the ability to see things as they are, not as you fear them or wish them to be. It's the space between impulse and action, the pause before the reaction, the question that stops a bad decision in its tracks. Is this within my control? This was the cornerstone of Epictetus's teaching. Before you speak, before you judge, before you worry, ask yourself, is this mine to change or mine to accept? Most of our suffering doesn't come from reality. It comes from resistance to reality. We fight what is. We chase what isn't. And we call that stress. Wisdom breaks that loop. It teaches you to observe, not absorb. To listen without rushing to speak. To discern instead of assume. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You always own the option of having no opinion." That's not passivity. That's power. The ability to hold your ground while the world demands your reaction. Because the wise man doesn't need to prove he knows. He needs to be sure before he acts. In modern life, where speed is rewarded and hot takes dominate every platform, wisdom is a kind of rebellion. To stop, to think, to consider whether something is true, useful, necessary, and then respond. Not everything needs your energy. Not every battle needs your sword. Not every opinion needs to be voiced. Wisdom teaches restraint, not silence. Discernment, not detachment. It is the virtue that guards all the others. Because without wisdom, courage becomes recklessness. Justice becomes judgment. And temperance becomes denial. Wisdom gives your strength direction. It teaches you where to stand and when to step back. It doesn't come overnight. It's earned in stillness, in reflection, in the quiet decision to choose clarity over chaos. And the more you practice it, the more you'll realize the strongest move is often the one you don't make. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about doing what's right, even when fear is present. The Stoics didn't define courage by battlefields alone. They saw it in ordinary life, in small, quiet acts, in the man who chooses truth over comfort, who speaks with honesty even when his voice shakes, who shows up when it's easier to disappear. Courage is not recklessness. It's not about jumping without thinking. It's about stepping forward with clarity, despite the risk. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free. Free not from danger, but from the domination of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of standing alone. The brave man does not wait for fear to vanish. He moves anyway, not because he feels strong, but because he chooses what's right over what's easy." Courage is showing restraint. When anger tempts you to lash out, it's owning your mistakes. Instead of shifting blame, it's apologizing first. It's protecting others even at your cost. And often, it's staying calm when the room turns hostile, not because you're weak, but because you know exactly who you are. That's the heart of Stoic courage. It's not the absence of fear. It's the alignment of action with principle, especially when no one will praise you for it. In today's world, where loudness is confused with strength, real courage is rare. But it's needed now more than ever, because life will test you. Through rejection, through loss, through silence, when you hoped for support. Courage doesn't remove the pain. It gives you a way through it. It says, "This is hard, but I will not break. This hurts, but I will act with honor. This may cost me, but I will not betray myself." And slowly, through small choices, you become the kind of person who doesn't just endure difficulty, but transforms through it. That is courage, the Stoic way. Justice, to the Stoics, was not about courts or punishment. It wasn't about laws written in books. It was deeper, more personal. Justice meant doing what is right for others. It is the only virtue that is outward-facing. The others build the self. Justice connects the self to the world. To be just is to live with integrity. To treat others as human, not as tools, not as obstacles, not as means to an end. It's easy to be fair when it costs you nothing. But real justice is tested when it requires effort, sacrifice, or silence in your favor. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." Justice means seeing yourself as part of something greater, a family, a community, a society, not above others, but among them. It means not taking more than your share. even when you can. It means holding your tongue when gossip would be easy. It means standing up for someone with less power than you, not because it benefits you, but because it's the right thing to do. Justice asks, can you remain honest when lying would protect your reputation? Can you do what's fair, even when the rules allow you to do more? Can you choose decency over dominance? The Stoics believed that justice is how philosophy leaves the page and enters the world. Without justice, wisdom becomes cleverness. Courage becomes violence. Temperance becomes pride. Justice balances the rest. It is not loud, but it is constant. It's in the way you show up, in how you treat those who can do nothing for you, in how you speak when no one is watching. You may never wear a title. You may never hold a gavel. But every day, you are a judge of your own choices, and the verdict is in your hands. Temperance is not about denial. It's not about suppressing desire. It's about mastering it. It means knowing when to act and when to hold back, when to speak, and when silence is stronger, when to say enough, even when more is available. In a world addicted to extremes, more speed, more pleasure, more validation, temperance is radical. It teaches you to resist the pull of just one more scroll, one more drink, one more hour chasing things that don't feed your soul. Temperance isn't a punishment. It's protection. It protects your energy from being wasted, your mind from being scattered, your body from being neglected. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery begins with limits you choose, not because you are weak, but because you are wise. Temperance is the quiet habit behind every strong person you admire, the ability to pause, to delay gratification, to remain steady when appetite screams for more. It's not about perfection. It's about awareness. Awareness of your impulses, your environment, and your patterns. When others chase indulgence, the temperate person chooses intention. When others binge, he balances. When others react, he responds, because he knows that saying yes to everything is a fast way to lose yourself. Temperance brings focus. It brings discipline. It allows you to move with direction instead of being dragged by emotion or habit. And in that stillness, you find something rare. Freedom. Freedom from needing to prove yourself. Freedom from addiction to comfort. Freedom from being ruled by the very things you thought you needed. Temperance doesn't make you less alive. It makes you more alive, because you are no longer pulled in every direction. It allows you to hold the line, to remain rooted, to be full without being overfed. In a world of more, temperance is the quiet power of enough. Some call Stoicism ancient, as if 2,000 years makes it irrelevant, as if virtue goes out of style. But when you step back and look at what the world is today, you realize we've never needed these virtues more than now. In a time of overstimulation, temperance keeps you centered. When every platform pulls for your attention, when pleasure is instant and distraction is endless, it's temperance that teaches you to pause, to choose enough when everything screams for more. In an age of outrage and division, justice becomes the quiet form of leadership. It's not loud. It's not performative. It's the strength to act fairly, even when no one's watching. To speak up when silence protects you. To treat others with dignity, not because it's popular, but because it's right. In a culture that rewards speed, reaction, and hot takes, wisdom becomes your anchor. It's the clarity to wait before you respond, to filter what matters from what's noise, to act with intention instead of impulse. And when life inevitably breaks your plans, when the diagnosis comes, when the business fails, when people disappoint you, it's courage that carries you through. Not the kind that screams, but the kind that shows up. That stands firm when it would be easier to quit. That whispers, "I will not fold," even when your knees shake. These four virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, temperance, are not outdated. They are antidotes to the very sicknesses of modern life. And they're not abstract. They're practical. They shape your mornings. When you choose silence over doom scrolling, they shape your conversations. When you decide to listen instead of attack, they shape your reputation, not in what you post, but in how you treat people who have nothing to offer you. You don't need to be a philosopher. You don't need a robe, a title, a following. You need only a decision that who you are matters more than what you feel, that how you respond matters more than what happens. That character is not inherited, but forged in moments of discomfort. This is why Stoicism still works, because it doesn't promise a life without problems. It teaches you how to live with them, with clarity, integrity, and calm strength. Marcus Aurelius governed a crumbling empire. Epictetus began life in chains. Seneca moved through the treachery of Roman politics. Yet all three believed in the same truth. Virtue is the only lasting success. And you, living now, with stress, debt, deadlines, grief, anxiety, pressure, you are no different. You don't need a different world. You need a stronger foundation in this one. And that's what these virtues are. Not perfection, not ideology, but tools. Quiet, powerful tools to help you stay grounded when the storm comes. Because it will come. And when it does, what will hold you steady is not your resume, not your followers, not your cleverness, but your character. And character is built one decision at a time, in small, invisible choices, in what you say no to, in what you get up for, in how you show up when it matters. That's why these virtues still matter, because you still matter, and the world still needs men and women who are not easily broken. You don't need to change the world. You need to change the way you move through it. The Stoics never promised comfort. They promised clarity, a way to walk through fire without letting it burn away your soul. Virtue is not a slogan. It's not something you post or preach. It's how you live when no one is looking. It's who you are when things don't go your way. And in a time of chaos, to be calm is revolutionary. To be measured is radical. To be principled is rare. But that's the invitation. Not to be louder, but to be still. Not to react, but to respond. Not to dominate, but to align. With wisdom, with courage, with justice, with temperance. The world may not notice. That's fine. You're not doing this for applause. You're doing it because your life depends on it. Because the strength you build inside is the only thing no one can take from you. So begin quietly, with one choice, one moment of honesty, one act of restraint, one refusal to be shaken by the noise. This is how unbreakable people are made, not by force, but by stillness.